Yes, good afternoon, Royalists. It is Tom and Paula, your fantastic royal duo, here with you on Friday, the 27th of March. We've got some amazing stories for you today, as always. We're going to be getting on to the city of York, dumping Fergie and saying they want nothing to do with the York family, including Beatrice and Eugenie. But first of all, Paula has a hot exclusive for us about Prince Harry's increasingly chaotic looking tour to Australia. Paula, it seems like Harry was the second string at his workplace mental health conference. Is that correct?
Well, he certainly wasn't the first pick. And by the way, Tom, everyone will be excited to know we finally pinned down an Epstein-ish link. So the thing is, Harry is heading up this insane event, Interred Psychosocial Mental Health at Work Bling Blang, right? There we go, Interred Summit, Psychosocial Workplace Safety Summit, which of course I have always laughed about, because what the hell does Harry know about a workplace in general, much less mental health in the workplace? However, the actual summit was supposed to take place in March, and the headliner was not Harry, it was Deepak Chopra. And that we might know Deepak Chopra not only as Oprah's guru, but Meghan's spiritual guru, the guy who she just loves and has come out and said so many wonderful things about and all this other stuff. And in fact, Deepak Chopra is said to have advised the couple during Megxit and after, you know, just saying, stay above the fray and all the other kind of blah, blah, blah that they say. Anywho, Deepak got dumped because guess what? He was in the Epstein files over 4,000 times and said cute girls, something about cute girls. I'll get the exact quote for a hot minute. Give me a second. But Deepak got dumped after that. They were like, oh, we can't have this kind of creepy dude who is BFF with a pedo perv. No, we'll go with Harry instead.
I mean, this just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? I mean, and again, it's like, I'm sorry to keep going on about it, but it's the thing that I've said all along about how it's just so chaotically disorganized, you know, and doesn't seem to have been organized properly, seems to, oh, can you put me on the screen, Ben?
Yes, please.
You know, oh, thank you. Seems, I think he was very nicely hiding me while I tried to put my AirPods in. My mic's very loud. Okay, lower. Okay. Yeah, so I think it just goes back to this whole thing about how horrifically badly organized the whole you know, the whole thing is. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You know, it's funny because Meghan had, so this is my working theory. Meghan had agreed to go down for her best life weekend, which again, you and I have said, how do you live your best life? You snag and marry a international rich prince. And yes. So she's going to go down
which is organized on the fly on the basis of a phone call from her kitchen by lovely Marcus. Yeah.
Lovely Marcus, the Soho House puppet master.
Right. And so this is where all this begins. They're having an avocado smoothie in the kitchen in Montecito. They're eating a rainbow fruit platter.
Yes.
And Marcus says, oh, I've got a brilliant idea. Why don't you go to Australia and I'll hook you up with this chick I know who owes $500,000 to the Australian tax board. And Harry, there's some goofy workplace stuff we can find. I'm sure we can sort it all out. And then this is where we end up 4 months later with like all these discredited people.
Well, it's the funniest thing. So, you know, Meghan and Harry had no idea that Gemma had any tax issues. Gemma O'Neill from Her Best Life. No idea. They were taken by surprise. And, you know, because why Google anyone you're about to go do an international event with? You know, God forbid anyone does their due diligence. No, she just trusted Marcus. And Marcus probably mentioned that Gemma is close friends with Nicole Kidman. Who knows for sure? That's the rumor. But, you know, and so, of course, Meghan's like, Nicole Kidman? Yes. I am also a world famous actress. I shall has do. God forbid, do a little Google. No. And then all of a sudden they're like, Harry, we're going to throw you a bone as well. Because guess what? There's this conference. You could talk once again about mental health, this time in the workplace. And Harry's probably like, by gum, by golly, yes, I'll take a break from chatting to my protection officers in my living room. And I will take a break from picking the kids up from school, or I don't know, picking the lint out of my navel. And I will tell them exactly what I know about workplace mental health, which I just love. Now, hold on, let me find my Substack article because I did put it out.
While
I
you
do
find
this.
that,
Yep.
I will say that the whole Australia trip seems ultimately to be a soft launch of the As Ever brand in Australia. And that in itself is a really interesting play by them, because they seem to be incredibly, if anything, this sort of, okay, so Australia, as I understand it, I've only been there twice, but I've got one mate who lives there, but I wouldn't claim to have an intimate understanding of it. But as I understand it, it's people who are into the monarchy in Australia are really into the monarchy, and most people just aren't, right? Think it's like, not particularly relevant to their lives. There's always been considerable support to get rid of the British monarch as the head of state, etc. It's faintly ridiculous, but the people who are into it are very into it. But it seems to me that they're into the monarchy, not into people who try and bring down the monarchy.
100. Right? Oh gosh, yes. Wait, here we go. So I found I've got my thing up so I can read it to you guys verbatim. Now, understand, last week I did an exclusive Sussex Crash Report. Every week I do a celebrity crash report because my day job, NewsNation, I cover entertainment and sometimes royals. However, Harry and Meghan are stepping in it so bad these days. There were so many stories last week. I did its own Sussex Crash Report as well as a celebrity crash report.
I believe I was a guest.
Yeah, you were. And then this week I had to do another because there was so much stuff. So this is and the exclusive I had was one of the exclusives, because they're all exclusives, that this is what's going on. Meghan, who has stayed mum on Chopra since the Epstein file dump, FYI, not a word. Kind of like her staying quiet on Tyler Perry and ye old weirdo charges he's facing. She's described Chopra as one of the people who inspires her and publicly referred to him as her friend, and even invited him to take part in her 2021 40 by 40 initiative. Chopra has also confirmed he has periodic interactions with the couple to help them navigate their struggles with the royal family, and famously advised them to ignore the drama and to avoid aggravating their situation. They didn't really do that. But then again, you know what? Chopra's loss is Harry's gain, because all the money they were going to pay Chopra to go speak at this event, Harry's now going to pocket. Good for you guys. They get to keep the lights on for one more month. Now, the other stuff in the Sussex Crash Report this week was, of course, a story I had that Netflix is not going to let Harry and Meghan out of their site. So, we had that whole Netflix shebangle where Variety was like, they're done. I've been saying they're done for a while. And
Harry and actually, Paula, I've got to tell you something really exciting. So Matt Donnelly, who's the reporter at Variety who broke all those stories, he is coming on the Royalist podcast next week to tell us all the inside story and gossip of how he landed that incredible scoop. And I'm really interested to ask Matt what he thinks about Bella Bajaria saying that, this was all a load of nonsense and that they were still on. And then this signing to do this polo film, which you have to say, at first sight, does seem to push back against the narrative that they're done at Netflix, doesn't it? I mean,
it does.
To be fair.
It does. However, Tom, if you read my NewsNation story, also in the Sussex Crash Report, you will know that Harry and Meghan own the name to the polo. And as we have discussed before, it never should have been a reality show with his friends. And we use that term very loosely. Not sure Harry has that many friends over here, but people he knows, because he was always going to go soft glove. And you and I have always said it would have been great if it had been a Bravo show. So someone else within Netflix was like, let's do an upstairs, downstairs, like a Gilded Age, The Crown, and do it. So here's my scoop. Netflix is like, yeah, we'll give you an executive producer credit. By the way, executive producer is usually just the money. It's a title. It's a whatever. We're buying the name. And someone else is producing, and somebody else with a great track record is writing. Harry and Meghan won't really have anything to do with it. And the other bit is Netflix is like, yeah, we'll put you on stuff, but never again will you be allowed sole control because you're a disaster. Oh, by the way, I have to say hello to my cousin Julie from Florida, who just signed on according
Hi,
to my
Julie.
text. Hi, Julie.
So
ask
I
him
hear
about
what you
that.
say. I hear what you say, and I think that you're completely right. That the executive producer credit is often used as a kind of bit of a sop to kind of almost keep somebody out of the way. I do, however, think it's extraordinary. I'm reminded of Samuel Johnson's famous description of a second marriage, where I think that Netflix commissioning a second go at polo by Harry and Meghan does remind me of Samuel Johnson's description of the second marriage, which was it is the triumph of hope over experience.
Oh boy. Mm-hmm.
And but it's been very convenient for Harry and Meghan that this news came out this week. It's enabled them to push back against the Tom Bauer narrative. It's enabled them. I've had, their team saying to me, well, this just goes to show that Tom Bauer is full of SH1T. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't have proper high level sources at Netflix, et cetera, and Netflix are still working with Harry and Meghan. So I suppose, to an extent, it couldn't have come at a better time for Harry and Meghan. It couldn't
have, but here's the deal, Tom. Everything with them is spin. And it's, wait, we've got this. Wait, we've got this. Hold on, there's this. And so, yes, they are actually doing this. Good for them. However, again, it is not a full Sussex project. And I actually think it will be pretty good if it's done correctly. I'd watch it because, FYI, I know a lot of families whose kids are down in Wellington, Florida, playing polo. And a lot of those kids are, what's the word? Completely messed up. Yeah, they, Oh, wait. So let's go through this real quickly. The other Sussex Crash Report is... I love this. Meghan has trademarked her stuff not only in Australia, but, drumroll, Canada, New Zealand, Mexico, because she wants to cover all of North America, and England. So if she were to, she actually could go right up against King Charles's stuff.
It would be a royal jam off. It would be a royal jam off, Paula. It would be very exciting. I would be excited. I would be excited.
I love that idea so much. But the bigger scoop I had today was Harry's Invictus Games are in big trouble, huge trouble. And there's security issues, there's staffing issues. Birmingham, where it's supposed to be held in a year and a half, doesn't really want them. They're broke. They went bankrupt 2.5 years ago. They're kind of just on their feet again. Nobody understands this. Invictus Games still doesn't have a head of marketing, FYI, which is a big effing deal. And another issue is, how do I put this? Birmingham is 30% Muslim. And in Harry's book, Spare, he quoted his number of kills, which is Taliban kills Muslims. I think it was around 25. And he's like, I'm not bragging, it's just my number. So I don't think I don't think that was a wise decision. And
Well, and also,
especially,
Paula, there's going to be a huge problem with the wounded Israeli soldiers because
100%.
they will have been wounded carrying out actions in Gaza, in Lebanon, absolutely hot button issue in Birmingham. There was a big football match there, Tel Aviv Maccabi, where
Oof.
the Israeli fans were banned from coming into the city. There are parts of Birmingham where there are Sharia courts happening. I mean, that is a matter of public record. Plus, as you say, the city is in a very bad financial state, and they haven't really had a proper bin collection for over a year, or maybe even 2 years now.
Wow.
Due to their dispute. So the whole place is infested with rats. I mean, parts of it, to be fair, parts of Birmingham. But it's a very, very troubled city. It's a very troubled city.
Well, also the other revelation that I had in my NewsNation piece was, which is also in the Crash Report, guys, if you just want to go on my Substack, the issue is, guess who's paying for this? Your government under Veterans Affairs. So your tax dollars, that's where it's going. And now Meghan and Harry's people have assured me the Invictus Games itself is not going to pay for Harry and Meghan's travel to England and put them up and all this stuff. But we all know they don't like to pay for anything themselves. So
we shall see. We shall see how they arrive. And another city in the United Kingdom, that is not very happy with members of the royal family is the city of York, which has stripped Sarah Ferguson of her freedom of the city of York. She was previously, when she was married, given the freedom of the city of York, which enabled her to do sort of medieval things like drive a sheep over the bridge before dawn and stuff like that. But what's really interesting, so on one hand, it's like just a meaningless, honor, blah, 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 blah. But what's really, really interesting about this is the speeches that were made in the city's council meeting, where they really went for the whole family.
Wow.
This is one of them. One of the speakers said, "The decision before you tonight should not be a difficult one. It's the absolute minimum of what you should be doing. Every day, the phrase, the York family, appears. Increasingly, it appears as the disgraced York family, not just in the UK, but all over the world. That is what our city's name is now attached to. It chips away at the reputation of this city, quietly and repeatedly, by 1,000 cuts. If you remove the freedom of the city, you remove one of those cuts, but you leave the rest." This is a very important issue now of what is going to happen to Beatrice and Eugenie if as I suspect that when William comes to the throne, I don't think we'll have too many more princes and princesses wandering around. Can they take away the surname from the entire family? Because the York is not technically their surname in the sense that we would understand it. It's the dukedom. So it's a bit like Meghan saying, "I'm Meghan Sussex." Well, she's not actually. And we don't know exactly, but we suspect that Beatrice, we actually know now, don't we, that Beatrice and Eugenie's actual surname is Mountbatten Windsor. So, I think that people have had enough of the York family in all its forms. I think this reveals that a bunch of councillors at the city of York are so far ahead of the king, who has fought tooth and nail to keep Beatrice and Eugenie in the fold, has issued statements saying they're completely unaffected, has invited them to Christmas, has done all these things, when it's pretty clear that ordinary people can see that these people should not be being honored in any way at all, right?
100%. But also, here's the deal, Tom. Nobody wants their city. I mean, like, I'm from Cincinnati, right? I wouldn't want Sarah of Cincinnati. I'd be like, you take my city's name out of your mouth right now. Like, take it out of your filthy mouth. But I actually have a question about this, because I have two questions. The first one is, what the hell is going on with King Charles? He looks so weak right now. He looks physically, but also he appears to be a weak king. And in not stripping any of this. And the second question, what about Sussex? Because didn't Harry and Meghan visit Sussex exactly one time? And is there a city, Sussex? Is there a county, Sussex? Are people, I would think that a great reporter should go to Sussex and be like, how do you feel about this?
There is a county of Sussex, but there's no city, unfortunately, to speak up for the people of Sussex. So I think the county of Sussex would have a hard time getting it together to register their objections. But certainly there are voices within prominent cities in Sussex, such as I believe Hove is a prominent city in Sussex.
Hello,
where
Hove.
people, hello Hove, where a very nice place. Where people are not particularly keen on the Sussex name being associated with Harry and Meghan. But more importantly, I suppose, where, as you say, where does this leave King Charles? King Charles does look weak. He does look frail. When we've seen him out and about recently, he's been very, very heavily made up. We know that he has terminal cancer. We know that he is not expecting to be cured of the cancer. We saw William and Catherine out during the week at the enthronement of the new Archbishop of Canterbury. Now, don't read anything into the fact that Charles wasn't there, because traditionally the King does not attend that, but the Prince of Wales does. But that in itself is causing a load of problems, because William is well known to not be religious. I mean, it's just a fact. He doesn't believe in God. He thinks the divine right is nonsense. Divine right of kings, by the way, is the philosophy which says that you're king because God chose you to be king. William quite correctly believes that's all nonsense, and has tried to kind of come round the side of it by giving this briefing to the Sunday Times, saying that he's a quiet believer. He has a quiet faith. A quiet faith.
By the way, how quiet is it? We can't hear it.
Yeah.
I mean, God,
anyway, I would like to, if you will forgive me one moment, my aunt, who's called Dame Sarah Goad, who was the what are they called? The Sheriff of Surrey, which is the Queen's representative, has written a very amusing letter to the Times, which Ben might be able to find. And her letter to the Times reads as follows. This is about and it was published on Times Day.
I just love how you had to clear your throat.
This is about the Archbishop's enthronement. Sir, it was a splendid and fitting enthronement ceremony for the new Archbishop of Canterbury and head of the Anglican Communion. But I was very disappointed that the opportunity was missed to play the national anthem at the end to emphasise the bond between church and state, as formulated in the expression of the Church of England by established law, particularly as the Prince and Princess of Wales were present. Dame Sarah Goad. So there we are, Sarah. Congratulations on being published in the Times letters page. And a very, very good point that Sarah makes in that letter, which is that the church and the state are so intimately linked in the United Kingdom. Like the Anglican Church exists because Henry VIII wanted to get divorced, right, and marry Anne Boleyn, and there are people who are very uncomfortable, to put it mildly, with William saying that he has a quiet faith, because it sounds a bit like it's very quiet indeed.
Whisper,
it's so quiet.
Yeah,
it's so quiet I can't even hear it.
But the other
it's
thing
a problem,
about
you know, the church is very beleaguered in the United Kingdom. It's got, you know, it's obviously no one particularly young people don't want to go to church. It's, you know, it's so. I think that that Dame Sarah has hit the nail on the head with that one.
Well, it's so beleaguered that, as you just pointed out, there's Sharia law in parts of Birmingham. I mean, I think it is dangerous for William to not come out with the church 100% and say, nope, divine right, here we go, because especially right now when the monarchy is under attack, a lot of people could say, hey, guess what? you've no divine right. What the heck are you doing here? Get the heck out in general. And, that's what the anti-monarchists are saying. So he's kind of flucked the door open for them. Yes, I just made that word up. Flucked the door
He
open.
has flucked the door open.
It's just, it's a little dangerous for him. And then, of course, he's got his brother Hazza. I like calling him that.
But it's really
'cause that's what
interesting, Paula,
Australians
because
would say.
okay, so I was always told that one of the reasons why they were very opposed to removing Andrew's titles was this philosophical point about divine right, because it's like, what God has bestowed, no man can take away, like it's not up to you, like, and the moment that you start doing this, and this is also why abdication is such a complete red line issue for the British monarchy, also obviously because of the memory of 1936, but particularly because it chips away and it undermines the notion of divine right, which the British monarchy actually are, particularly in Charles, are very insistent on, is the reason of why they are the king and why they have this privilege and why they have this power. So that was a huge part of why Charles was so incredibly reluctant to take the titles off Andrew. And it's also why William, who does not believe in divine right and thinks it's a load of nonsense, was very keen that the titles should be removed from Andrew.
I just have to say, there was a quick question in the comments that I saw. It said, who started divine right, or how did it come about? It came about because, again, Henry VIII split from the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church also has divine right when it comes to the Pope. The Pope has a direct pipeline to God. So Henry split with the Catholic Church and then said, well, God made me king and the head of not the Archbishop, the Church of England. And
I just don't have the time to get into your garbled American translation of British history there. So I'm not even going to bother, darling.
No, I don't think you should. But there we go. It's right.
We'll go
correct.
with Paula's mad version of the Reformation there.
It's garbled, but by the way, the gist is there and it is right. And at least it's not in Montecito mumbo jumbo.
And with that, we wish you a lovely weekend. We'll hope to be back over the weekend if exciting news breaks. We will be here, of course. And don't forget to tune into the Royalist on our official podcast on Tuesday, which will be me and Paula. And as I was hyping there, Matt Donnelly from Variety, very exciting. He'll be joining us. And Plum doing fashion, of course.
Amazing. And don't forget to sign up for my Substack, The Inside Scoop, where you will get all of this first. Love you guys. Thank you.
Bye.